Hello again. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. We're making several videos of the Columbia Basin area. We've made, I think, 3 already on the Kootenoosa, which is one part of the Columbia Basin area. And come along, jump in the car with me. I'll put the camera on the fender and we'll drive through this country. We'll take a ride on a ferry across one of the big lakes. And as we go along, we can talk about the water negotiations that's coming about between Canada and the U.S. Awfully important to both countries. We are driving in beautiful upper Columbia River Canadian country. Canadian water is falling off the rocks as we drive along the road here. If you like waterfalls, this is the country. These roads are fun to drive, but keep your eyes wide open and keep your foot off the accelerator. As we drive along the highway here, let me tell you a little more about these Columbia River water negotiations between Canada and the U.S. We are really getting down to what is important in negotiations about this water between the two countries. Let's look at these Canada-U.S. comparisons. Canada in white, U.S. in blue. The length of the Columbia River is longer in the U.S. The area of drainage is larger, but the key is not the length or the area of the river. It is the storage of the water that is key. And that storage of the water behind the big dams in Canada is larger than it is in the U.S. And this enables the U.S. to continue to have a reliable year-around source of adequate water for both its power production and its agricultural irrigation operations. The storage is the key, not the area or length of the river. Old sternwheelers that once plied these waters are now tourist attractions today. These are some of the big Canada storage areas that are so important to American power generation and agricultural development. It is big, clear, cool water. This diagram shows these key storage areas fundamental to power production and agricultural development in the states like Washington and Montana and the power that goes down to California these days. Libby Dam in the United States, but the big reservoir flows back over the border upstream into Canada. Here's another big dam, the Duncan Dam, coming down from the Duncan River, another huge reservoir of water for year-round use. And the Mica Dam on the Columbia River itself, another big storage area. And the fourth big storage area in Canada, critical to the power and agricultural development in the U.S., is this dam at Keenleyside near the community of Castlegar and Nelson in the West Kootenays. We are waiting in line to cross one of these big water reservoirs. Bicyclers use the ferries in the summertime, big vehicles, buses, log haulers. We've just pulled out of the ferry here and we're making a left-hand turn to go across the lake. The ride is very pleasant. Nice eating place on the boat, and now we're coming into dock. You can see bicycles coming in, ready to come back across the ferry. There are vehicles parked up there you can see in the distance. There's the man coming, the worker, the ferry worker. He will eventually take that flexible guard off, and there's another guy walking, so it handles both foot traffic and vehicle traffic. This is one of the smaller lake ferries, but it also is a good size, as you can see by the fairly large motorhome that fits very easily within it. All of the BC inland ferries are free. They're all part of the transportation road system. And this particular one across the ferry across Kootenay Lake claims to be the second longest free ferry in the world. And the distance across the lake is about 8 kilometers and takes roughly a half hour. The biggest ferry will handle 80 vehicles and about 250 passengers. And the vehicles they handle is everything from big log hauling trucks to transport trucks. I took this picture as we got off the ferry. The ferry operation, they're planning to switch their ships from diesel to electric in the future. And when you take your camper on, of course, you have to turn off your propane for safety. But they do handle dangerous goods, propane, gasoline, camping fuel, acetylene, trucks carrying both gasoline and diesel. And they all have very carefully set out regulations, and the ferries are safe as can be. While we're waiting for this ferry and to get off of it, let me tell you a little bit about these big Canadian water reservoirs and how important they are to the U.S. The storage of water year-round is one critical factor in negotiation considerations. The other is the water flow itself. Average water flow, cubic feet per second. How much water flows from Canada down into the United States? Well, at the mouth of the Columbia River, it's 265,000 cubic feet per second, and that's a lot of water. In comparison, at the Canada-US border, 99,000 goes across, because there are tributaries in the U.S. that contribute to the Columbia River. So there's more, of course, water going out at the mouth than what goes over at the border. But what goes over from Canada into the U.S. to contribute to the irrigation and power production in the U.S., that is 37%. This diagram again shows that 37% of the water that flows into the Columbia system in the U.S. comes from Canada. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the profits from the power production and the great agricultural production in the states of Washington, Montana, perhaps Oregon, the same is it 37% that is rightfully Canadian from those profits? Because that's the amount of water that flows and contributes year-round to United States production. So what is the value of Canadian water to the U.S.? Well, we're looking at water flow that contributes 37%. And we're looking at a second big factor, remember, the water storage. What is the value of that water storage that enables year-round consistency, again, for irrigation and power production in the U.S.? That is the negotiable part. Okay, we are back on the road again. The highways follow along the edges of these big lakes. Looks like we've gone alongside of another waterfall in this country. Water, water everywhere. If the U.S. wants to continue to enjoy the benefits of this water, they will need to negotiate in a fair and equitable manner. It is fun to drive these roads. Great scenery, you never go to sleep. You better not go to sleep. What's that up ahead? Looks like something dark. Hey, we're going into a hole. It's a tunnel in the road. This is an old railway bed. The railway bed was built by the American company Great Northern to haul coal out of the Elk Valley. And now they've converted the railroad bed to a highway. It is highway number 3. It was fun going through that tunnel. I believe we're going to go turn around and go back through it again. And that's exactly what we did. Except this time, it had started to rain. You can't have the water and the vegetation of this country without rainfall. And it's not so convenient, and you just have to go a little slower and take your time. Here we go, back through the tunnel again. They painted it white so you could your lights would shine up a little bit better. Truck traffic moves along at a pretty good pace, but sometimes you get behind a truck and you just have to keep your place and follow along and enjoy. In this area here, we're enjoying the rock cliffs. Some of these cliffs were tunnels on the old railroad bed of the Great Northern Railway, and the Great Northern hauled coal out of the Elk Valley, and the coal from Canada was the basis for the industrialization of the northwestern United States. All of that industrialization that you see today in the state of Washington and Idaho and some of Montana and Oregon. The greatest monetary profit from Columbia water has been power or electrical production. And now power goes beyond local and state use to selling it elsewhere to places like California. If Canada provides 37% of the water and also year-round storage for consistent power supply, does it follow then that Canada should receive at least 50% or more of the profits? It is indeed time for negotiation. The original treaty called for an equal sharing of the additional hydropower generated that was made possible by the water storage in Canada. But the dams cost Canada more money than what was ever paid by the U.S. More money in terms of loss of fertile riverland, displacement of people and communities, and considerable agricultural land loss. None of these things were compensated by the U.S. to Canada. The U.S. got the major benefits from the power generation and flood control, while Canada lost land and communities. Even entitlement benefits have never been received by Canada from Libby Dam, as they were from the other U.S. dams. And further, only one of the Canadian dams even generates any power whatsoever. It has basically been all a U.S. benefit. There is just a lot of fixing up to do, and it is basically Canada's responsibility to see that it's done. The fundamental principle of a country giving ownership of its natural resources to a foreign entity, that is Canada, expected to continue to give water control and profit to the U.S. This is a principle that would not be accepted in any international court of law. So much for the heavy talk for a little while. Let's just enjoy driving this beautiful country. Here's a little live action on the driving end. As you can see, the roads, the highways are paved, nicely built up, lots of room, but they are two-lane roads, basically. They are great roads if you're not in a great big hurry, but if you feel you have to pass everybody on the road, you're going to have a very frantic time. We are going to make some more videos of the Columbia River Basin area. I've already made 3 on the Koocanusa, which is the big lake on the Kootenai River that flows into the Columbia eventually. Maybe you've seen those 3 videos. If not, take a look at them. You'll enjoy them. It's all about the same water that all flows through southern British Columbia toward the United States. So we'll make a few more videos, like I said, and join us. We'll do some driving through this country. I'll put the camera on the car and you can see what the highways are like. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. If you liked what you saw, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up, and that helps us bring you more videos.